Hello, my name is Mr. Papayannides. I'm a journalist. I should stop here normally because in this panel, it's a quite technical one, and as I was telling before, if you meet a farmer on the way, an agronomist, and a food industrialist, I could tell them, good morning, how are you? But if you introduce me to AI, I wouldn't know what to say. I wouldn't say, good morning, AI. So now I'm here as a moderator. Let's see how this co-moderation will go. But I'm here to learn and to understand what is this new order of AI and the new technologies in the agri-food systems, and I hope I can help so you can be informed better, then even better. So this was my introductory remark, and I will give the floor now to my co-moderator. This is the correct term, I think, Mr. Spyros Fountas. He's here with us today. Mr. Fountas, hello. We are really glad to be able to moderate this session. We thought it was going to be in English or Greek. We have three panelists who are from abroad, but I think questions will be in English, so the rest of the question will be in English, I think, but the introductory remarks can be in Greek. So, as we all know, digital transition is something very important, not only in the EU, but globally, and consequently, Greece, as a member of the European Union, should follow this tendency. And when we talk about technological revolution, agriculture 4.0, we usually talk from farm to fork. It's a whole agri-food chain, and we talk about implementation of new technologies, whatever this means, technological systems, sensors, informatics, robots, drones, satellites, or automatization systems in the food businesses. And the most important thing, which is the most popular one, is AI, artificial intelligence. In the last years, it's something which is in the spotlight in the media in all levels, and we in agriculture and food, we are a sector which there is a lot of activity about AI. So just to show you how this came very rapidly to our sector, in the framework of my professional duties, apart from professor, I'm editor-in-chief in one of the most famous magazines. And I follow the development of technologies. In 2014, when I started, we had, I'm talking about new technologies and anything in agri-food, we had 600 submissions, 600 scientific articles from the whole world submitted. In 2024, now, two magazines, we have 6,000 submissions. So these are articles which have been sent from the whole world. It means that the research on this topic has been doubled. So we see that there is a development. Another thing is AI, artificial intelligence, is not something old. The first application in agriculture came up in 2010 to 2012 with some simple algorithms. So the big revolution started in 2016 with some more advanced algorithms, neural networks, So it started in 2016, and at the same time we had some big data sets, so scientists can run the algorithms. And since 2016, the last 2 years, 8 out of 10 articles in the magazines have to do with artificial intelligence. Some of them talk about new algorithms and some new dimensions, but many of them just use some existing algorithms to run some online data set. So we see the development. We also see this in the research programs. Most programs, most programs you should use AI because we talk about a lot of data, a huge volume of data. Many here in the audience, we know what huge data are. Mr. Zalidis, and the common statistical methods are not enough anymore. So it's one way we use such advanced algorithms to find correlations and to see where this development goes. Consequently, we see that there is a future. We don't know exactly which the development will be. We think about it, but we have very prominent panelists here, so they can enlighten us from their experience. You can start.
Shifting to English, and I mean, you may react in either English or Greek. There is a simultaneous interpretation to keep us all safe. I have already started learning or understanding or thinking I understand something of the discussion that will take place, and I would like to turn first of all to you, since Mr. Papakirillou, as the CEO of the Hellenic Development Bank, are more or less invited to join our more technical panel. But then again, I would like to ask you the following thing. The panel you were sitting was about blue and green economy and what the Hellenic Development Bank has to offer. Trying to bring the two together, how important is how far-reaching is the use of new technologies, of advanced technologies within the financial sector when you start to address programs and to offer programs to those who try to find support and finance from the Hellenic Development Bank? Are you on the forefront of technology, of financial technology, and using such methods?
Thank you for the question and also for the invitation. I'm very happy to finally make it today to the panel. It's a very interesting question, and I'm happy because it gives an opportunity to also discuss what the Hellenic Development Bank does. We design and implement financial instruments that are then offered in the market via the commercial banks. To do that, to start with, so the first point I wanted to make is that we use digital platforms. So already the way we operate integrates at least the digital transition. We are not yet on the AI side, but we do, our process is online, and so anyone, even if it's some agricultural entrepreneur in a small island, can go into the platform, can make the initial application, and in theory, at least also for the banking side, he could do it online. So this is a major step, I think, for financial instruments, that now they can be provided via digital mean.
If I may interrupt you,
yes.
But do people feel comfortable with using the platforms, or since the agricultural sector is reputed to be rather traditional, conservative, or are they fearful?
In our case, there is no option because the first step is a step on a digital and online platform. So they have to, and in a way, they're pushed to do that. So I think that is quite important because it makes them understand the importance of getting the data in. Before I think we can describe also how they can really, I mean, the whole process of how they get the financing. One other point I wanted to mention is we're already looking as Hellenic Development Bank to use AI tools. And this is very important because what I described, this online system, the digital platforms that we have, means we are now collecting very important data, and we can aggregate that data, and AI is a great tool to really help you in the policy making and in the design of new instruments. So even though we're not there yet, we are already designing tools that will help us better design products that really care for the market, because the real value in the information we have is from the entrepreneurs. And we work with small and medium businesses, so this is really representative of what happens in the market. Another point I would like to make when it comes to the digital transition is I think you're very right that it's one of the sectors that perhaps are a bit behind in the digital transition. I mean, the agricultural sector in Greece. One of the tools we currently have in the market is we have some small loans for new entrepreneurs. So often it's their first foray into the financing, the banking market. And we offer with each loan, these are small loans, what we call micro loans, up to 25,000 euros. And we offer a mentoring facility with it. So it's some free mentoring. It's up to 300 euros from a roster of consultants. And they can really use that however they feel is best for them. And this is very important because in issues like, for example, how do I use digital instruments or how do I implement something digital in my business, they have this first help. First the mentoring, but also the loan. And it's quite important, I think, because it's easy to say, yes, we have to do a digital transition in the agricultural market, but that needs money. And when you have support via via an instrument that has preferential terms and it's, let's say, cheaper than what you get in the market, is important. It really gives them the access to finance that we want to achieve.
I think I'm going to ask to the second lady of the panel, which is Monika Stanisheva. Monika, you've been a member of many committees. You just said you just came back from COP29 in Baku, so full of experiences, new experiences. You've got also back and forth from Sofia to Brussels for 9 years, so you know very well the institutions, you know very well all the developments and, you know, the trends which are going non-European and also globally. What is struck in me in your CV is also you're also a member of the European Sounding Board of Innovations. Maybe for you, maybe that's one of the important aspects, but where you actually have important role on emerging trends, transformative technologies. So my question to you is like, how do you actually see the emergence and actually, if we say hype, of new companies specialized now, especially in agri-food, in emerging technology and AI?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers and especially Yanis Balakakis for the invitation and for the privilege being here. It's really amazing organization, and I must say this from my experience because I also organize an event in Sofia called Green Transition Forum, and we had the privilege to have Yanis there. So straight to your question, because this forum is called Quo Vadis, Greek and European Agriculture, I would like to start like maybe trying to answer directly to this question. If we have to look at the future, and we have to do this, we can say that the future of agriculture goes through technological modernization, innovation, and I would also include in this package of innovations also AI instruments. So on the landscape of Europe and of the world, AI is an emerging technology. It is implemented also in agriculture, but the agriculture sector has been pointed out by many other previous speakers, is traditional and is more conservative. And here, the challenge is how to make those instruments which can make farmers and breeders much more successful in their activities, how to make those instruments more accessible and how to make them being implemented in the agriculture fast, because dynamics matters, time matters. And here we are speaking, and I'm listening very carefully to what the other previous speakers are saying. The problems which Greek agriculture is facing are very similar to the problems which farmers and breeders and agricultural sector from the whole region is facing. We are lagging behind in many aspects compared to what the Nordic countries are doing, for instance. But while saying I'm saying lagging behind, it's a lot. I mean, it's really something that we have to face and address. And I will give you here some numbers for you to see how much we have to compensate. So only 5.6% of all European farms are run by farmers younger than 35, while more than 31% of all farmers are older than 65. This is a number which is speaking of the whole European Union. But then let me say this, that most farm managers in EU only have practical experiences, 70% of them, and this is Eurostat numbers by 2022. And now, for Netherlands, for Luxembourg, and France, for Netherlands, for example, number is 62%, for Luxembourg, 53%, and for France, 38%. And if we have to compare with our region, Romania, Greece, Bulgaria, less than 5% of farm managers respectively had full agricultural training. And we have to focus not only on agriculture training, but also on digital training, because digital skills are must and necessity if we want really to bring our agriculture sector into the next phase of development. This is what I think, and I don't know how we are with the time.
Should I ask you something, because that's very important. Everybody thinks, especially for the Greek agriculture, and as you're very right, the whole Baltic, if we call it, agriculture is, Balkan agriculture is lagging behind. How do you think that we can overcome this? I mean, because we have to do something, right?
We have to do something. There are many, many obstacles. I just will name one of it, which is very concerning everyone in every business, but also agriculture. And this is, for instance, for us, we are in disadvantaged position for many, on many aspects, but for instance, in energy price. It is important because in our countries, the prices of energy are 15% higher compared to the rest of the European Union. For instance, North and West Europe. 15, but it is very important. Because, first of all, our economies, they are not the best developed economies on the European Union. On the other hand, we are in this disadvantaged position, and based on this, the cost of production of every industry in our region is going higher. And now we are speaking about competition within the European Union, but also competition between the European Union and the rest of the world. And again, we are lagging behind. So what has to be done? We have to move very fast, not tomorrow, yesterday, like building digital skills of farmers. This is something that has to come like as of tomorrow, but it shouldn't be like a small amount of people, but just to make it as a programs for everyone. And this is a first step, but skills, education, and trainings are the most important things, because those farmers, they have to be able to use innovation technologies and to implement them into their activities to make their production more efficient, to make more money, because this is what they want in the end of the day, to make their production more competitive in terms of price compared to the others. And in the end of the day, because we are always talking about how to attract young farmers and how to have more farmers, success is what is attracting people. And the profits. I'm a business person, so we are in the business of making business, yeah? So we have to make profits. So if we make good regulations, but also encourage and motivate farmers to go through these training programs, and digitalization of the farming industry, of the agriculture industry, will help us moving forward.
Thank you very much, Monika. We keep what you said. It's good to have digital tools if we make farmers more cost-effective. Otherwise, it will not work. Yes. Thank you.
Now I turn to Mr. Cobi Bitton, CEO of the Israel-Greece Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And I want to extend to you a question that I have already put to the Israeli ambassador to Greece, Mr. Katz. In Israel, it's a double-pronged question. The second prong is Israel has advanced technology throughout the agricultural sector, and it is consciously exporting even know-how, not only agricultural produce, but also know-how. But do you think that a less advanced and less venturesome agricultural population, such as the Greek one, can use this kind of know-how easily enough? Is it transferable? And the first prong of the question is that how long did it take for the Israeli agriculture, the farmer, to adapt to the realities of advanced technology, not of AI level, but the advanced technologies? Was it 5 years or 20 years? Was it through need or through, let's say, curiosity? You have 3 or 4 questions, and the clock is going down. Yeah.
Actually 6.
Okay, right? You count well.
First of all, I would like to thank Yanni and the organization for inviting us. Last minute, by the way, invitation, almost. So thank you very much. It's a great deal of well-organized event. Yes, Ambassador Katz tried to address some of these questions. Israeli advanced technology and AI is something that comes from a need and not curiosity. For your first question, of course, yes, we can export, and we can help and assist to implement it. This is not only, it's not someone that asking you for, write me a plan. Okay, this is a plan, what I will do with that afterwards? I need to implement it.
You stand by.
So we stand by. And the Israeli government, not only the current one, I'm talking about the previous ones, helps a lot to create such kind of integration hubs to support farmers and cooperative to work in this. And these farmers came because of the lack. First of all, we are a very small country, and you know that Israel is an island country. So we depend only what we can grow or bring from other countries via air or sea, nothing else. Okay, so we had to reinvent ourselves in order to create, let's say, some innovations in the agri. And Dr. Sagi also mentioned about this, what we do and what we are still doing, with the great support of the institutions, government, academic institutions, and the private sector. When I'm saying about private sector, we are talking about venture capital funds. By the way, HDB are going to have the new, right? A new venture capital fund with 60% investment of HDB, and you are going to invest also in AI. So I believe that a significant part of this AI should go to the agribusiness. If I recall, per your last question, we were trying, and I'm, let's say, doing Israel-Greece for the last 14 years, okay? And not only because I'm the CEO of Israel-Greece Chamber of Commerce. We were trying to support and to encourage tech transfer to Greece, but with great lack of local support from various reasons. So one thing is will. The second thing is readiness. The third thing, with whom should we work here? With whom? And this should be something that the local, let's say, authorities, government, institutions, banks, commercial banks, come together in order to create a hub, a country-wide integrator, okay, to support such kind of initiatives. We are talking about small farms. We are talking about what? 700,000 farmers in Greece, which most of them are very traditional, conventional. Now, how you bring AI as a term and tell the small farm owner, look, there is AI which we can support you and help you, but we need your will. What do you mean you need? I don't know how to deal with that. So you need to support him from A to Z. And regarding the microloans of HDB for entrepreneurs, microloans will not work with the farmers, because what they will do with that, okay? It needs something much more bigger than that. So AI, I will give you 2 examples, okay? Israel is very strong in drones. So we took drones, AI, towards agriculture. Only one example. How you do that? There are some other companies that were supported to make this happen, and I can give you 2 or 3 other, but maybe we'll leave it to the second round. Thank you.
Thank you indeed, both for the answers, the replies, and for the questions you have raised, because it is a well-known game to supply further questions, and some of your questions were very pointed, and I'm sure that everybody understands that before starting to give practical replies to this sort of answers, how do I do it, coming from an agriculture who has to survive, to work, to have social life, to be marginal or submarginal at times, he or she has to be assisted to find his or her way with new technologies. So thank you indeed.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to continue with a question to David Lam, who is coming from Brussels. We are very pleased to have you. That you are working on a very, very ambitious project by the European Commission and DG Agri, which is called EU CAP Network, which is going to last for 7 years. The first question is, it would be very interesting to explain to us, to everybody, what EU CAP Network is, because at least for Greece it's not well known. I don't know about the other countries, but here we know that it's not very well known, which is, I know that it's a lot of work and a lot of hope is going there to support, and of course you will be very important person, but you also have a lot of experience from before, from academia, policy positions for food sector and others, so you have a lot of experience. So for us, we would like to hear, how do you see specifically the AI and maybe other emerging technologies that could help the CAP strategies, because EU CAP Network is also for the CAP, for implementation of the strategies at farm level, if you can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation. My colleagues from across the EU CAP network, some of them are Greek in origin and some still based in Greece, were enthusiastic in exhorting me to accept the invitation. I'm glad to have done so, to attend today. Yeah, you asked about the EU CAP network. It continues the work created by the European Network for Rural Development, where we were concentrating on the second pillar of the CAP. But for many of us, we've changed our approach. We now have to have an integrated approach, but that's a good thing. Mr. Papayannides, who spoke earlier, talked about the integration of advisory services. And what's really important now is there's a new approach is in each member state there is a national network. My colleague from the Greek National Network, Sophia, was here yesterday. She was attending. But we need to make sure there's good connections to make sure there's a next step in agricultural practice. And we've talked about skills in agriculture, skills on farm, skills in the agri-food sector. I happen to be a former food marketing advisor. So I was a specialist advisor in Scotland in the new food systems. And the interesting part for me is when you look at under that lens across Europe, you see that the people who were expanding their markets and looking at new product development 20 years ago are now the ones who are willing to take the, I would term it an enthusiastically cautious approach to AI. They've already had to explore new markets and new products, and they take that approach when they look at the take-up of new technologies, including some examples I might come to later, which is a good way of saying save some time for me a little later on, but including robotics and artificial intelligence. The most important thing for all of that is that integration of advisory, of the most up-to-date research, so Horizon projects, extremely important, making sure we get that best information and are giving that information out, and then improving the skills and knowledge of not just farmers, but those who are giving them that advice, who are going on farm and able to be as up-to-date as they can be in disseminating that advice. We have a lot of young people. There is good news. We had a young leader forum in June in Finland, and 150 people who were pretty new to the whole environment who are enthusiastic in coming through. The positive bit I get is we work really with the networks in each member state, and the bias is towards younger and the bias is towards female. So the gender balance is very good in the national networks, I'm pleased to say. And that means we have progressivity reflected. Perhaps I'm now based in rural Luxembourg, and my neighbour is the new commissioner, and he's 10 years younger than me. There will be there is a refresh of our approach to what we do, and those younger people are the ones who are progressing with enthusiastic caution. We've been discussing those approaches. They're looking at how they implement them. They are also looking at, we work together amongst the networks on many of the challenges, and that working between different countries and partnering between different countries is extremely important, because you'll find that perhaps the most progressive ones are so happy to talk with their partners, their neighbours, in saying, how can we help you? We had a hackathon very recently in Lithuania, where we looked at approaches and how an AI was a big feature of how do we integrate that. And as a very simple example of that, AI can now mean that our 1,312 currently good practices on agriculture, rural development, food, can be machine translated into every working language in the European Union. And that's a big help for us to translate practice across boundaries. And we will come back, and I'm extremely pleased to say this, because I said about enthusiastic caution. We come back to Greece in March next year to look at the next stage of that and how we progress with those objectives and that integration. And it happens to finish on March the 20th, which I discovered about 2 hours ago, is when my home country, Scotland, will play Greece, and I will come and support Scotland with enthusiastic caution without much fear of victory. So thank you.
Okay, I think it would take a long discussion to say between Greece and Scotland, so let's move to the just a very short comment, because you just touched about advisors. Yeah. And we all believe, we know that advisors are going to be the main drivers, at least, to implement emerging technologies in agriculture. So do you think that there is more future there to talk to advisors and be more informed and to pass this knowledge to the farmers? Or still, again, we need a lot of, it's a far away, also a lot away, and training for that? Do we have to do a lot of training, or you think it's going to be easier through advisors?
I think it will need a lot of training. I think it needs a lot of developmental work, but we shouldn't forget that advisors have come from, in a majority of cases, from a very strong knowledge base. It was mentioned earlier, they are economists, they're agronomists. We have to go with that existing knowledge. I mean, AI is an accompanying technology. It doesn't start from nothing. It needs data, and it needs human intervention to make it work. So we need to think about how we work with that knowledge and give them. A lot of it will be confidence. A lot of it will be confidence in having that technology. So we need to work hard. There are really good programs. There's a Horizon project looking at climate resilient farming, which is looking at 10,000 European farmers being trained on those kinds of approaches. That's really important. We can't, I'm based in Brussels, I say, but we can't reach every farmer, but advisors can. They can be out there. So we need to be supportive of them and respect the fact that when they go on farm, they have a good understanding and an understanding that cannot be replaced by anything artificial, of looking at the land and understanding what the land is capable of. Data-driven solutions are great, but only when they accompany in-depth knowledge.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Just to say, this project, Climate Farm Demo, I guess you're talking, 100 of these farmers are in Greece.
I know.
So our university is partner of this project, so it's amazing.
It's a great
and
project.
it's going to give a lot of information. Thank you.
Now, Professor Nychas, if you allow me, we are in Athens, we are in Greece. Brussels has been mentioned, the Balkans have been mentioned, but I understand that you have been teaching and offering your expertise in China too. And I'm just fresh from China, even harbor some kind of jet lag. I've been there for almost a fortnight, and I was really impressed. But I would like to ask you, how did your Chinese partners, be they students or academics, receive your expertise? How did they address your field of expertise? And would you tend to say that the Chinese that have been used to leapfrog technologically from the car industry to digital telecoms, have they been doing the same kind of approach to agricultural technology?
Yes, thank you very much, first of all, Yanis, for the invitation, and in general the organizers. And about your question, help me to describe what I felt for the first time when I visit China. Allow me to say that this was, we start this collaboration with China almost 2019, when me and Spyros, we wrote a proposal to European Union. That was the acronym was DITECT, and it was related with digitalization of the whole process from the farm to the fork, using all the modern technologies, AI. Secondly, due to COVID, we have not the opportunity to meet with our partners in China. So I was lucky enough, because after the shock of COVID, my second shock was when I visited China. It was really a shock, because I couldn't believe, and my questions to them are, you really need me? I'm talking about, I'm a food scientist. I used to say that I'm an orthodox food scientist, meaning that we are approaching the food science with conventional way. Although, believe me or not, I tried to implement AI since 2007. I was the first one here in Greece, and probably in Europe. They don't believe me. They are talking against me, that I'm talking nonsense, is not going to be used. What is this? And all of this bullying, which is fashion now. So, going to my impression about China is that they have very advanced. Of course, you can see all the difference: poor people, mid people, economically, and very rich people. The first time that I was going there and I took the taxi, I noticed that there 40% of the taxis and all the cars were electrical cars. So when we visit some industries, because I talked to you that I'm a scientist, food scientist, so mainly my field is meat, although I'm not very fan of meat, okay? But okay, that was a surprise for me, because everything was there, it was digitalized. And that was my question to them. Do you really need me? You know, because, okay, I supposed being in EFSA, being here as a president of the Greek EFSA, FED, suppose that I do know many things about safety. Of course, they try very hard about safety. They want to know what we are using here in Europe in general, what they are using in USA. But the difference is that they try to implement all these nice technologies. You are talking about drones, but in a food industry, you don't need a drone. You need a smart instruments. For example, you can have your iPhone, you can take a picture of your food, and you translate that through the AA to knowledge about how good is your food, how quick it's going to spoil, and this is, they try to implement. They try to implement in many, many different ways. So that was my experience from China. Later on, I can tell you some examples if you want. But because there is not any meter there, so it's not. Yes, so that's why I stop my presentation here.
I'm going to ask one question to Mr. Cobi Bitton about your experience, because you have helped a lot of businesses, as you said, to increase the competitive advantage for and expand outside their territories. As you know, that's very important because there are especially many startups. They start, for example, in Israel, start in Greece, they start in Bulgaria and some other countries. But it's very hard to make business and be, sustainable within their territories. So you, according to your, let's say, CV, you have really helped entrepreneurs, investors, startups, and across multiple industries, also in the emerging food tech sector, to actually make an impact outside the territories. So how do you see actually the AI specifically in the food tech? Because we have heard a lot about farmers, and we know about, farmers like in a lot of skills and so on. Is the food tech, you believe, more advanced than farming? And then is it as advanced in other domains? Because of course, through this Israel, Greece, you talk to other many colleagues for other domains. So I'm sure you have many examples to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. Do you want me to refer to Israel, Greece, or generally speaking regarding food tech?
I mean, it would...
Greece, Israel. Yes? Okay, yeah. He answered. All right.
That was my response too.
Okay, by the way...
Of course.
But, by the way, it's very strange because the term food tech here in Greece, it's almost totally different from the term food tech that we use in Israel. When I visited the Global Pack and Food Tech Expo last year, food tech was about equipment, nothing else. I said, guys, but for us it's not food tech. Food tech, it means any technology that goes in the supply chain, food security, and of course, there is intersection with agri-tech. There's nothing else. And when we started 5 years ago, there was a lack of, we started to work on the establishment of a Greek-Israeli agri-food tech venture capital under the name of Greenery. And we had a very interesting journey here and in Israel with great deal of commitment, but it was also in COVID time. We had 2 GPs from Greece, 1 GP from Israel. One of them is together with us here, Dr. Sagi. But we had lack of motivation to work with decision makers around here. So speaking about farmers, it's one thing. Speaking about food tech, first of all, we need to change maybe the term or how we take it as food tech, and then to step in. This was one of my own major problems when I was approached by businessmen, investors, entrepreneurs, in order to better understand first, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? The Israeli food tech is much more, let's say, bigger in size than the agri-tech in Israel. Okay? But they work very closely together. By the way, in 2023, investment in agri-tech in Israel, 3.9 billion. Only in agri-tech. 2,107 startups since 2014 to 2023. 2024, because of the war and the current situation, of course, there is the decrease, but there is increase in cybersecurity. So you can find investments in 2024 compared to 2023. It's a number which is unbelievable. A part of it, because of the current situation, we had to reinvent ourselves in food tech and agri-tech in order to find other solutions because nobody else will find it for us. Okay? So we had to dive into some other solutions to encourage entrepreneurs with subsidies, with government support, with professional hubs and consultancy services to bring solutions in order to have better crafts. So I came 2 weeks ago with two terms which are newly to the market. One is craftability, craft and ability. And the other one is craft stability, which is craft and stability. Could we put my slide over here? Where is the guy that is helping us? Yeah, this is, I asked when I will start to say what I have to say, so maybe this slide will be on the screen. Yeah.
It's coming.
Okay. So, how I'm controlling from this one? I will take 2 minutes from your time. I think it's important.
Okay.
So this is AI definition for profitability, which I used, of course, some of the other, let's say, logic and reasonable definition. When we come to small farms and small-scale farmers in Greece, we talk about crafts. We don't talk about nothing else. This is what is important for them. First of all, don't touch my butter by my bread and butter, because I need to live, right? Then talk to me, how do I go to the next step in order to make it better? And then I can make profits. If you are asking me to invest my money only, forget it, okay? Forget it. Okay, do you want me to invest and you will subsidize me? It's okay. But I need someone that will work with me hand by hand. And this is something that I think Greece is needed, not only by Israelis to support, but others. There are so many in Europe, by the way, and in the US. But in Israel, because it's, I call it a very small community, it's very diverse, but it's a very small community. It's much more difficult, and because of the difficulties, then we come with such successful solutions. You know that the cherry tomatoes came from Israel, right? The ones that you eat. Yes. Okay. So cherry tomatoes, you can speak to the guy just next to you. Yes, he's... not in person. Not in person, but he's one part of it. So this is only one example, okay? Greenhouses, multi-level greenhouses. Multi-level because there's a lack of land, okay? So multi-level greenhouses. How to use AI with drones, water, how do you recognize and identify crops, diseases, pesticides, and everything. So thank you. Drip irrigation. Drip irrigation, of course, netafim.
Yeah, I'm very impressed about the numbers. 3.9 billion, you said?
3.9 billion, 2023.
Amazing.
Most of it was done by local VCs.
Local, only
private-owned investment,
wow.
Family offices. Some of them came from multinational corporations in the agri and food business.
Okay, that's impressive. I think in Greece we don't have these numbers.
You can start small.
Yeah,
Always start small.
Yeah, exactly. That's the most important. That means there is real interest, not like, because we have, like Mrs. Papakirillou, you said before, I don't know the numbers in Greece, probably you can just to intervene, but just to compare with the Israeli, if we have such numbers. And this is only for the agri-tech, not only for...
Only for agri-tech.
Not only even food tech, which you said it's much bigger, right?
It's about 8 billion.
8 billion?
Yes.
Okay. We can get, I think, for Greece, a little bit depressed, I guess.
Yeah,
but that's
No,
good.
no, this is not my intention.
No, I'm just kidding. It's good to know where, we can go forward to.
I think the market structure is also very different in Greece. I think one of the main things to point out is that generally Greek agricultural businesses are very small, so it's also very difficult to implement this type of tools. And you need to find ways to kind of address that if you really want to have the AI revolution.
Correct.
So, unfortunately, in a way, our microloans work because you have these very small farmers that need to do the initial investment for basic stuff.
Yes.
But clearly, as you rightly said, it's not for AI.
25,000 euros, what they
25.
can do is 25?
Yeah,
this is
but-
something else. We
but
can do something with
still-
25.
Yeah, but still, for the type of, what you have now on the
Yes.
screen, you need a different type of investment.
I
That
agree
means
with
you
you.
need a different type of company, and then they can use different financial tools. And
open
for
a
other
dialogue
sectors,
afterwards about
we
this.
have, but the problem in agriculture here, I think it's the size of the company and also the way the market works. So it's, it's a long discussion. I don't know if we can go into it now.
No, but it's just to compare because you come from this area. Okay, that's very impressive. Thank you very much.
So may I turn now to Mrs. Stanisheva with the following question. Both agricultures and companies, agri-food startups or companies, have been through many upheavals. In one way or another, COVID was mentioned, and then, of course, the energy crisis was mentioned. Would you tend to say that they have felt mainly threatened, or also the pressure has been operating constructively? Was this kind of threat, especially if I profile it with the green transition, did it give them the feeling that they have to do something and do it now? Or do you feel some sort of despair surfacing, which can be a very, very dangerous thing?
Thank you for this question. I think that COVID, of course, had an impact on all kind of businesses, also on farming business as well. But because you put this thing with the ongoing green transition and Green Deal policy coming from European Union, I will share here my personal view on this. I think Green Deal is something very crucial, which was an European answer of climate change, but also on the public opinion, which we were having back in 2015, 2016. And when the Green Deal was created, it was an answer of this public need to be done something against climate change. But like everything, Green Deal is not perfect. It has a lot of things that were not really very well designed, I would say, because when you have a regulation and the policy, which is sometimes for the sake of the policy making, and which is not really reflecting on the needs and on the real problems of the business sectors in many varieties of business sector, sometimes and in many occasions, this push which was given from the high authorities on the European level was not really helping very much to the business environment, and actually this is one of the reasons that we have created this Green Transition Forum, because we wanted to. Everybody has to talk about this. You cannot just make an implication of policies of such a kind without listening to the people and to the businesses, because in the end of the day, what we see now, especially in the focus of this Mario Draghi report, is that it is not that European Green Deal is just, going to be thrown away. No, I hear some voices which say, okay, in the focus of U.S. elections now, Green Deal is not going to be, part of the European targets anymore and the European goals. This is not true. There is a huge legislation going on, and it is going to go further as well. But the thing is, we need to adjust, and we need to really make this Green Deal some kind of more modified into the direction of competitiveness. And this is what Mario Draghi report is saying. Now this is an opportunity for Europe to become more competitive, because following the agenda of green transformation is very important, but through the lens of competitiveness. And this is what I really believe that we have to do now, and this is where I think that Europe is going, and it's a very good development.
Do you really think that Europe can hear? I don't know who is Europe and where is Europe. Just that I don't know where is AI and who is AI, but still, Europe is around for the better part of half a century or more. Has Europe ears or just a voice? Can it hear?
Again, very good question, but in the end of the day, we are Europe. I mean, it's like you have so many levels of communication with the high level of the European Union, and it is a very complex network of this chain of communication, but we have to make this dialogue working if we want really to achieve a change which can be a positive change, which can be a change which is moving us forward. I think this Draghi report is like a wake-up call for Europe. This is for the first time in 70 years when Europe is talking about industrial policy, which means supply chains, which means cheap raw materials, which means a policy for our businesses and our industries. And I think this is a very positive intention. I don't know how this is going to be play out, of course, but I think this is the way we have to go, because we are lagging behind China and US and Israel, vastly behind them. So this is an opportunity also for us we have to grab.
Yeah, I think now I'm going to give a question to Professor Nychas. So I'm very happy to have Professor Nychas in the panel, first of all, because we've been working for a number of years because Professor Nychas is, just to say, the most highly cited professor in agri-food in Greece, and one of the most highly cited also in Europe. I'm not going to mention the thousands of citations, but you can imagine. So he's been working very much in food microbiology. It's very interesting that you don't also look only at the food sector, but you are the one that you initiated that it's better to start from the farm to go to the food. That's, as you discussed, the Ditect project that you actually started and you invited me. We didn't write it together, so you are a very good writer too. So you've got a lot of experience, so all of these years for the, let's say, food processing, especially meat food processing, even though you don't like so much meat, but it's okay, you know very well the sector. And, you know, during your also latest professorship in Shandong University in China, as Mr. Papayannides said, you've got a lot of experience. And especially for food processing, if we just stick to food processing in China and you compare it with Europe that you know very well, do you think you know, the difference is going up? You gave some examples before, but can you dive a little bit more into this?
Thank you very much, Spyros. Yeah, actually, I would. Part of this project, the Ditect project, was not to find which processing is better. If in Europe we have better processing than in China and vice versa. First of all, the concept was to find out how they are working and how we are working in order to find the bridge the difference. That was the most important, especially on safety, because we exchange products, and both consumers, they want to know, they need to know that what they eat are safe. We don't care so much about secure in this specific project, but that was mainly about the safety. So we found the difference between these two countries. Both of us, both regions, they learn from each other how to bridge the difference. We have very good examples, but I will tell you, in visiting one of meat industry in China, because we have developed some sensors. I showed that in the first slide, sensors on the field. But the beauty of this project and of these sensors, they can be used inside the industry. Very small sensors, like your mobile. Don't forget about that. That's the future. Everybody will have a sensor in a few years. Apart from sending messages, we can send the messages to cloud. We scan this food, this meat, this vegetable, and the AI on the cloud will tell us how safe and if we can eat that. So what really happened in the industry, in their industry, was that actually we invent, if you allow me, we invent, you know, the word Internet of Things. And through this Ditect project, we introduced the Internet of Foods. In other words, the food will tell you, eat me, I'm ready, okay? So anyway, in the Chinese industry, one of the biggest industries, meat industries, that was in Inner Mongolia. They are scanning, they slaughter about 5,000 cows every day. And they scan the slaughter of the animal. And because of they follow all these parts of the animal from the slaughterhouse up to the consumer. So if there was any problem, they can recall by using blockchain, by using artificial intelligence, by using traceability. All this information were available to the consumer. This was the idea of the project, of the Ditect project. And as Spyros says, we try to introduce what happened in the field, because so far we miss the information of the field. We apply the concept of One Health. Everything starts from the field, the health of the plant, the good health of the animals, and so on, in order for us to have to be in a good health, the consumer segment. Okay, so that was, of course, this processing was not implement to all the industries, but at least in China they try to implement this concept by certain industries, one or two, but that was the beginning.
Yeah. So do you really see a big difference between China and Europe in the implementation?
No, I think that we are in the same level,
okay.
Right? I don't want to say that this is better or worse.
Okay.
You know, I try very hard to persuade all the consumers that there is not bad and good. Always there are the gray zones, but we need to know these gray zones in order to make it better. All these things. I try to avoid that is better or
makes sense. And thank you for giving us a good example as well. So you answered the last question, so we save some time.
Okay, thank you.
Now, since time is running short and you are entitled to your some minutes of Q&A, now before coming to you, I would like to just ask both Mr. Papakirillou and Mr. David Lamb to give us 1 or 2 or 3 best practice cases that you have to present to a diverse audience. Ms. Papakirillou.
You mean best cases in what?
In the application of your experience through the institution you are serving. Where have you been successful? Where can you tap yourself in the back and say this was successful, this was appreciated? Yeah.
I mean, as mentioned, I think for us, and it links also to the previous panel, which I think I mentioned extensively, the part on advisory. This mentoring, I think, is a great idea because clearly there is some knowledge gap in the market and we need to make sure that we cover it. So for us, that is very important. And we are really currently working to see in the context of digital transition, what more can we do? Because clearly there is more to be done in the Greek market, in the agribusiness segment, but not just agribusiness. I would say in most of the sectors, we have a lot of work to do there. Another tool which I would say it's a big success for us, and it links partly to this, is we have a free instrument in our website called the ESG Tracker. It's basically a self-evaluation tool for ESG criteria. And this has been a great success because it incorporates, actually linking it to the previous one, it incorporates this educational element. It's a precursor to the ESG tracking that will become a norm in the banking and the financing sector because, I mean, from the ECB and the Central Bank of Greece directives, this is coming in the lending process. But ours was more simplified with simpler and easier questions for especially the micro and small entrepreneurs to kind of understand what is required from them. So, for example, the first question we have is, do you measure your carbon emissions? We don't ask for the number because that really terrifies a huge number of entrepreneurs in Greece, but at least asking them if they measure it or not, and if they say yes, they have to provide the evidence, so it's a verified process. It puts them into the process of thinking, this is something I have to do. So I would say this is something we need to replicate in other things as well. I don't know if I have time for a quick third one. We have specialized instruments, not just for the agribusiness, on the digital transition, and I think that's also very important. Businesses need the financing and the motivation to do actually the digital transition before we even start talking about the AI transition. So we think this type of specialized instruments are very important, and we see them working in the market. And I'll stop there.
Mr. Lamb?
I'll try also to give you 2 very quick examples. You can find both of them on our website, the EU CAP Network website. And I'm going to start just by one little response in terms of if Europe is listening. When we get the networks together, they say, oh, you need to do this as the EU CAP Network. And I say, oh, I'm not the EU CAP Network. You're the EU CAP Network. We're just the contact point. So we have to listen to them and get our good examples from them. 2 examples. One is the Karwowski Dairy in Poland. Where they've implemented, I was lucky to actually visit that, and they implemented robotic milking. Now, we've probably lots of us heard about robotic milking, but what I liked seeing in terms of the results wasn't the increased yield, great, the time freed in the process, not that twice a day milking. The cattle were being milked 3 times a day or more, but voluntarily. Of course, it's a voluntary system, but also the impact it had on animal health and welfare. The improved detection of mastitis, the improved yields, yes, but also what that did with the time. An older farmer said his challenge now is his children have too much time to think about what innovation comes next on the farm. And they're saying, great, now we'll use a robotic feeding mechanism. We'll use robots to get the feed and to digitalize the whole system. They're using the wastewater from the milk cooling process to cool the barn. It's not just the innovation. Innovation breeds innovation. And if you can see the benefits of the technology and the time's a huge agri-food system cost. So if you can create more time for these kind of practices. And second one, quickly, because you were talking about sensors, is in Lund, Sweden. Again, you can find this in our database. We're looking at sensors combined with AI to look at how to detect changes in the environment, changes in the soil, and actually build a huge set of about 600 factors of data to think about what can we actually do to increase yields, to mitigate against climate incidents, and optimize irrigation. And the best example that came out of that was saving 50% of a fruit and vine crop from frost, because it was able to determine we need to pick now based on all the different factors that are coming in. So these are practical examples, and we benefit from these practical examples when we can share them and actually share the good practice across Europe.